Coming up next on the Filthy Rich Cleaners podcast.
A lot of times I'm very much like, I'm done. I want them out of here, instead of perhaps there is another conversation. There is no more chances, right? This is it.
From your first dollar to your first million, welcome to the Filthy Rich Cleaners podcast, presented by ZenMade. Join your host, Stephanie Pipkin, founder of Serene Clean, as she shares proven tips, tricks, and hard-earned lessons. Whether you're just starting out or ready to scale, get ready to discover how to build your own cleaning empire. Let's roll up our sleeves and dive in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Filthy Rich Cleaners podcast. I am your host, Stephanie from Serene Clean. And in today's solo episode, I really want to just share something kind of cool that I realized or was made aware of yesterday in my weekly management operations meeting. So every single Wednesday morning, I meet with my management team that is in Wisconsin. As you guys know, I am remote. I'm in Savannah, Georgia. So every week we touch base. Obviously, if there's like apocalyptic things happening, we will touch base more often than just Wednesdays. But typically we're going to save most of our communication when it comes to like deep working on issues for Wednesday. And so we had our typical Wednesday meeting yesterday, and Crystal, my HR manager, actually shared with me something that was said in a performance review that we do each year for all of our staff members. They get a performance review at their anniversary of their work anniversary. And this particular staff member had been with us now for 2 years. I believe they'll be hitting their 2-year mark. And what they said in this performance review really just highlighted so many things. And I want to work through these thoughts here basically with you guys listening to my stream of consciousness. So what the team member said was basically that there is a lot more pressure, or it's a bit more stressful, that they now are responsible for if a raise is going to happen or not. And that is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And the reason it is so wonderful that they communicated that stress was it means that the accountability is now on them when it comes to if they are going to be getting a raise. So if you guys have not listened to my episode going through our wage and guidelines, basically how we break down our wages and raises. I always, whenever I say wages and raises, I want to say wages and raises. Anybody else struggle with ours? No, when you're growing up? All right. So I oftentimes will have to really catch myself. So the wages and raises guidelines, I did break those down fully in an entire episode. I read through it all because for us, last year, we implemented this new way of doing raises, putting it on the staff members' behavior 100% if they are going to be getting the full allotment of the raise potential for that year. So I definitely recommend listening to the episode if you have not, in relation to what I'm talking about. But basically, in the past year, we have implemented this new policy that now for every year, they're going to be eligible for different sizes of raises, depending on how far they are into employment with us. But each of those potential raises are broken down by percentage based on 3 categories, one of them being quality, one of them being attendance, and the other being like basically following policy. Like they are not going against any company policies. And so the biggest one, of course, being quality. That is going to be the biggest percentage of the potential raise that they're going to be getting. And so before, raises were very much just given on feelings, vibes, and overall how they're doing. Now it is 100% like no emotion, no feeling. It is based on the staff members' behavior and performance. The ball is in their court, and they are basically, we've laid them up. They can now make the hoop, whatever, sports, ball, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say here. So it's in their hands, and that was done very intentionally by us. And we made this move towards this very, I guess, cold and calculated way of how a raise is going to happen or not. And what we are seeing now based in that performance review and based on the behavior that we have seen since we've implemented that, we have seen such a shift in the amount of accountability of their choices that our team is taking. And it is really cool to hear this team member saying this, because this particular team member, they are a commercial cleaner exclusively. Great person, great personality, and just all around a good person to work with. However, the quality was a little meh, right? We would do quality checks and there would definitely be issues. And what would happen is we would say, hey, shape up. And there were minor enough issues, but they were fairly consistent, right? Just the quality was just not really up to par, but overall, great communication. They're just a good person to work with, right? So honestly, we wouldn't have fired this person unless it got really bad or just like more lackluster, I would say, because it was a bit lackluster, the quality, the consistency, but everything else about them was so wonderful. And it wasn't like our customers were necessarily complaining. It's just we were catching stuff like the customer wasn't bringing it to us, but during our quality controls, we would be bringing it to this particular cleaner. And there was no really consequences of it. If it was enough, of course, we would make a decision of like, well, maybe we'll just give them a 75-cent raise or something. But we would have to have that discussion and then make a decision on what we are feeling, right? And so we've completely eradicated any of that hemming and hawing of like, well, how much should this really dock it? And yeah, but they've been great in all these other ways. But for us, quality is king, right? So that is the biggest portion of their raise now. And so now in this performance review, like I'll just say he saw exactly how his behavior affected. And actually, he is one of the first people that has now had it at his last year and then this year. So it's been just over a year that we implemented this new raise policy in place. And so from that first one, we did give some leeway. Like we didn't have like quite the hammer down because it was a brand new policy that they were being held accountable to. But his raise did get affected by that new policy, basically at his first performance review. So now at this one, we have seen such a shift in behavior. And he specifically called out, he may have, kind of said it as a negative, but for us, it's a positive. He's like, this is stressful that it's on me now. And obviously Crystal explained to him like, yeah, that's the point. Like you're in control. You are totally in the driver's seat, man, of your raise. And that should feel empowering. And it is our job to help guide them and seeing that this is a good thing. But for somebody who maybe doesn't have the best quality or just doesn't care that much, it is going to be a negative thing, right? Because they're going to have to shape up. But it's on them now. It's not us holding them accountable. It's themselves. And so this is amazing because at this particular cleaner's quality checks, they have been immaculate. He has completely upped the game on quality. And it's specifically because of this new policy. And that is just so exciting to see actual positive change in somebody's behavior because of something like this. Because typically we put things in place and it doesn't feel like sometimes that there's that much impact, but we have seen the impact 100% in the level of quality that our cleaners are putting out. And it is just so incredible to see that there is changes possible and there are things that we can do in our business to help facilitate that change. And I didn't want it to be just us writing people up and us like cracking down on them or anything. I want them to feel the pain in the thing that's actually going to affect them, because clearly the pain of us talking to this cleaner previously or saying like, hey, what's going on? Like that wasn't working, right? The only thing that has actually worked is him getting hit in his paycheck, because once he realizes, oh, I could be making more and it's my actions that are causing me to not make more, specifically to the penny we explain for every infraction on a quality check or any complaints that we get. This is how much you're getting docked on your hourly rate, or we're not taking it away from his current hourly. It's getting taken away from the potential raise that he was up for, right? And so it's completely, just made them so much more accountable. And it was I was just so happy to hear because we are seeing the fruits of our labor 100% of putting these things in place because we were so dang frustrated with the lack of accountability of our team. And we felt like we were beating our heads against a wall and we weren't willing to fire over certain things, right? When it's just kind of subpar or like mid average quality, right? We're not going to fire somebody over that. And that's just being honest, right? Because bodies are hard to come by. And if they're a great person altogether overall, like we're like, all right, they're just, we have to just constantly check their work basically and talk to them. And now it's really kind of taken care of itself now because they are being empowered to have the ability to positively or negatively impact their potential raise. And so that was just really cool, like a cool realization from yesterday's conversation that made me really, really, really excited. And the other example that I wanted to share with you guys on just like change and our leadership style evolving over the years with Serene Clean is, we were having pretty severe issues with a staff member this summer, right? And obviously this summer was like Armageddon apocalypse at Serene Clean. That's what it felt like when it came to turnover and issues, like kind of crazy issues, right? And one of the issues, I'm sure I talked about this in one of the episodes or in probably multiple episodes, was a particular cleaner who the quality was not good. They were just a lot of policies were not being followed, things like dress code or how to call out properly, or just it felt really chaotic. However, we knew that she had it in her because she's shown us before that she had it in her to like perform at a high level, right? And it felt like maybe this was just something that like she was having a lot of stuff going on in her personal life. And so she had a first warning, right? A first written warning. And then I was actually, oh yes, this was in August when I was up in Wisconsin. And I myself did a quality check on her. And the quality check, to be frank, was horse shit. There was pretty much no room that there wasn't something horrifically wrong. And she had been leaving early from appointments too. She'd been getting done at most of her appointments early. She was not in dress code. She was wearing shorts, like all of these things, like shorts that were above her knee, totally against dress code. And so I was just, honestly, after that quality check, I was of the mindset of like, she got to go. Like, this isn't going to turn around. Like, what are we doing? But we were so short staffed and we're like, well, let's do a second and final warning. We made that decision and kind of have a come to Jesus conversation here of like, there can be no more issues, right? And we want you to succeed. And it was a very earnest conversation. It was between myself, the cleaning technician, and Crystal, HR. And I was when I was back in Georgia here. And so I was on Zoom. And honestly, it was just very candid. It was, listen, we want you to be successful. We want you to be part of the team. We love having you here, but this quality is not up to snuff. All right. Like, if we need to go through more training with you, like, what is it that you need? Why is this happening? But we can have no more issues. We can have no more of these policies infractions, all of these things that we're very upfront. And she was nervous, but she thanked us. She was like, listen, I appreciate you giving me another shot. And I'm going to take this seriously, and I'm going to be able to do this for you guys, and I'm going to make you proud. And obviously, you take that conversation with a grain of salt, like, can they actually do this? But this was an instance where, yes, she did it, and she has been absolutely killing it now. I mean, there's been little like hiccups and stressful things in her life, but her communication, her quality has been right on the money. We've been getting positive reviews from clients, and I am just, it really is heartwarming to see that, yes, people are capable of change if they are motivated enough. And I think that it can be, especially after this summer, it can be really easy to get cynical and say, God, people fucking suck. And there's nothing that we can do about it. Right. And they're not going to change and all of these things. But I am literally seeing in real time right now in my business positive behavior change from my staff members. And just, I think there's just been a very strong, perhaps subtle, but strong cultural shift at Serene Clean because of the amount of clarity that we have provided with these policy changes. And even with something like a written warning and having this very direct and blunt conversation. And I would say that is something that previously, Crystal's great at that. She really is. I have not been the best at that in the entirety of my life, pretty much. But as a leader, that's an area that I struggle with is having those direct but difficult conversations, because I a lot of times I'm very much like, I'm done. I want them out of here, instead of perhaps there is another conversation that could be had where we say how serious this is and that there is no more chances, right? This is it. And then it's up to them. So again, putting the ball in their court of like, we've been so clear. There is no confusion here at all. It's on you now. Like it's like the future is in your hands of your employment here, or your success here, right? And so being able to have that conversation with her and it actually works so far. Obviously, we don't know the future. Something could change and it could be not sustainable for her. But frankly, it's been a couple months and it's been amazing. And she has expressed such gratitude. I think she directly messaged me too and was like, I thank you for believing in me, right? Like that's what I really needed in that moment. And so I'm not saying to give unlimited chances. That's not it at all. But I think that the more clear we can get with our team as to what the expectations are, the better chance that they have at succeeding, right? Because they know what they're supposed to be doing. And I think a lot of times we assume that somebody knows what they're supposed to be doing. Maybe we verbally said it, right? But maybe there's something more that needs to be done. And that's why, I am such a fan of the cleaning checklist. And even for us, we've now created like a quality standard for each task. What does it mean for something to be actually dusted properly, or the floors done properly, et cetera, et cetera? And that is something that we provide, or that we've added onto our quality standard policy that we already had in place from day one. But it's very easy for us to say, hey, you didn't dust this, and them to say, yeah, I did. I did dust that. But they didn't do it to standard, right? But what is that standard? What does it mean for it to be of a satisfactory level of completion? What does it mean for the ceiling fan to be done properly? What does it mean for the kitchen counters to be cleaned properly? What does it mean for a toilet to be cleaned properly, right? And so literally spelling that out and giving that very clear expectation of this is up to par, this is not, right? And that's been really helpful for us, so that when they do have a quality issue, we can point to that and say, listen, you may have cleaned the toilet, but it's not up to standard. And this is what the standard is. It needs to be streak-free, and with no debris, no visible toilet lines, that type of thing, right? Like laying it out for each task. And I don't know exactly how we have it all spelled out on each of them. However, this level of intense clarity on every single task has really helped us clear any confusion from what the expectation is of their work. Same with all of the policies, right? They have all of the policies readily available. And now, instead of just doing things for them, we are trying to empower them to find the answers for themselves. And we've been putting things into place to help teach them what the expectation is, or the type of information that we need from them, right? Like, for example, kind of a side tangent, we use Slack, as you guys know, for our communication within the company. And I love Slack, definitely obsessed with it. It's fantastic. And you can set up a lot of cool things and apps within Slack. And one of the things that we did is set up a Slack bot, or an automation that is triggered by certain keywords or trigger words, that will then send the cleaning technician a message if they use one of these keywords, so that we in the admin side of things have all of the information that we're going to need in order to be able to take an action, right? So an example is, hey, I'm locked out, right? So if a text says that, the Slack bot is going to trigger an auto response by the phrase locked out, and it's going to ask them different questions, like, or instruct them rather on what they are supposed to do. Like, first, you check the ZenMaid notes, make sure that you are at the right door. You have called or texted the client and have waited, and you're in the waiting response period, right? Like, we need to know these things. And again, there's probably some other things. I'm just not remembering them all right now. But point being, a lot of times what's going to happen is they're going to say, I'm locked out. And then us admin are going to be like, did you do this, this, and this? And we're going back and forth trying to discern the full picture of the situation. And it just wastes a lot of back and forth time, where the Slack bot is actually now teaching them, hey, you need to answer these things to us. And this way we can get them an answer faster, right? Same with, I'm not feeling well, right? Well, that doesn't do anything for us, right? Like, what are we supposed to do with that? Because now we have to pull the teeth out of them. Like, well, does that mean you're not coming in? Does that mean you can't make it to your first appointment? Are you calling out? Like, we need a direct answer on these things so that we can understand what action that we need to take, right? Because if we have to go back and forth, especially when you're not feeling well, it's annoying, right? Your boss is pestering you. Whereas if you just give us all of this information, you can rest and take care of yourself, and we can take it from there, right? So it's been really great, and it's just kind of on that topic of clarity. Like, we are providing clarity to the team of what information we need so that we can help them be successful and that we can be more efficient in our administrative labor that we need to do, because we need to email clients, we need to rearrange a schedule. There's all of these things that need to happen when somebody calls out, or any of these other scenarios that may be in place. So that has been really great as well to help us be more efficient. But again, it's just kind of on that topic of being clear and being direct. And anytime we're getting frustrated with the lack of communication from a staff member, instead we're saying we're trying to teach them what is proper communication. And I think communication has been one of the biggest issues and frustrations that we've had in the history of the business, honestly, is that some people just don't communicate very well. And we have to kind of guide them and show them what it is for us to be in full great communication, because we do need this information so that we can take action, right? Whatever that may be. We need to be able to know the full scenario before we can do anything. And so yeah, I'm just really, I know I'm kind of a little rambly today. I'm rambly every day. What am I talking about? But my point being is I'm just really enjoying the fact that this hard work that we've been putting into the operations and the kind of policies and all of these shifts have now started to come to fruition. We are seeing the benefit of all of that hard work of putting those policies into place, holding the cleaners accountable, being very direct, not unkind, right? Clarity is kindness, being very direct, having candid conversations, and being able to do so in a respectful manner. And they are feeling respected, but they're also feeling, that pressure. And honestly, that's a good thing. I don't want them to be stressed out and freaking out. However, I also don't want them to get complacent. I don't want anybody on the team to get lazy. And so your raise is on the line and you know exactly what that looks like and you know what you should be doing, well, now it's up to you, man, or it's up to you, woman. Like, it's up to you guys to be responsible for your actions. And that sometimes people have never had that before, right? And so it is a bit of an adjustment. Like with my tech in that performance review, and he's like, oh, this is kind of stressful. It's all on me now. And it's like, yes, it is. And that's a wonderful thing. And that should empower you, that you have the ability to have power and control in your life and in your finances too, right? And so this is one of the things that when you guys do pay a percentage, right? And you're paying a percentage, or you're paying a high percentage, or you're just getting them to a certain hourly rate, like very high up in the beginning, and there's no upwards mobility. This is where I can see some complacency. So what I would suggest, if you are paying a percentage, is to be doing things like quality bonuses, attendance bonuses, those types of things for the behavior that you want to see, right? So basically you're doing what we do, but just in a percentage format, right? So say they have 0 quality issues in a week and 0 attendance issues in a week, and they're typically getting paid whatever, 40%, maybe that gets them to 42%, right? So they're losing out on additional money every time they have a week that they don't hit those parameters, right? So it is positively reinforcing the behavior that we want. And for us, of course, if they are having like severe quality issues, we're going to do written warnings. You do need to have that negative kind of reinforcement as well. We can't just let that go on of like, oh, you missed out on your bonus because every week you have a complaint. Well, we got to do something about that, right? There's other actions that need to be taken. But how can we put bumpers around their behavior so that they behave in the way that we are wanting in our business, right? Because let me give you an example. So there are negatives to paying hourly. There's positives to paying hourly. There's negatives to paying a flat rate or percentage, and there's positives, right? So the negative of paying hourly, or one of the biggest negatives, is going to be the lack of incentive to move quickly, right? Because they are getting paid the longer they take, the more money they're going to make, right? So we need to put some bumpers in place so that bowling ball doesn't go in the gutter and they're taking 6 hours when the cleaning is supposed to take 4, right? And so for us, in every single appointment, we are going to put the amount of labor hours that it is approved on that cleaning. So this cleaning is approved for 4 labor hours, right? They are not to go over that. And if they are going to go over that, they need to have an explanation as to why. And of course, if they're newer, we're expecting them to be slower. But once they're, up to snuff, like this is what we should be sticking to. Or if they're like, listen, we cannot get through this house in 4 labor hours, we need 4.5 or 4.25 or whatever. And then we can get that approval or whatever. But if they're consistently going over, well, then there's a problem. This is a house that you should be able to get through in 4 labor hours. So we need to have those bumpers in place of this is what it's approved for. And we're going to call it out immediately, like same day, like, hey, that appointment's supposed to take 4 hours. Why did it take this long, right? We're not going to let that slide. We're going to call them out and say, hey, this is what the expectation is. And if you don't feel that that's reasonable, then we need to look at increasing the amount of time on this appointment altogether. But we're going to confirm that, of course, with other seasoned cleaners that maybe have been there. Like, do you feel like you can get through it in that amount of time, right? And vice versa. Like if it needs less time, we'll adjust that as well so that we can schedule more hours in the day, of course. But that is the thing with hourly is like, why would they have a fire under their ass if you don't put some type of stopping mechanism in place of them being pokey, right? Now, opposite is when you pay a flat rate or percentage, they are incentivized to haul ass, right? They want to move as quickly as possible because the longer they work, technically, the less they're making per hour, right? Because it's just going to be this amount, correct? And it's not going to change. So the problem with that is quality, right? If you're hauling ass and you've got a fire under your ass, well, what's going to be the thing that goes first is going to be quality, right? Because they're trying to speed through and trying to work less hours, right? So how do we put those bumpers in place here? Well, we need to have some quality expectations, or perhaps, again, one side of it is you should have a quality bonus so that if they don't have any quality issues, they don't have any complaints, they get a bonus for that. And, or you could also dock them on the quality. So for us, what we do for this particular thing is we have them sign our quality policy when they come on. So if they have a complaint and we have to go rework it, right? We have to go send somebody, it takes 2 hours to fix all the quality issues and bring it up to our standard. Then we are going to dock the original cleaner's pay for 2 hours down to minimum wage, which in Wisconsin is $7.25. And they could be typically making, anywhere from, $16 to $25 an hour, right? So that really fucking blows. That's a huge, painful jump. And so that policy that they have agreed to is what protects the quality as well. And we've had that for years now. And, of course, we've always that's one of the reasons we've had really good quality in general. But typically in commercial, that's not going to apply as much because people don't necessarily complain. We're catching it in quality checks, right? But in residential, absolutely, because we're having to send somebody back. We're having to deal with it administratively. We have an angry customer on our hands. Like there's a lot of costs to dealing with a complaint, right? We need to do that rework. So that would be an example for if you are paying hourly, but we're focusing on flat rate right now. If you pay a percentage or flat rate, having some type of go back and re-clean it policy or docking of if we have to go back, however long it takes to fix it, it's gonna eat away at the rate that you were promised because of that. You need to have them sign and agree to it. And of course, check your laws and regulations in your area. And as long as they are making at least minimum wage, that in Wisconsin is what is legal, right? But of course, I would never pay somebody minimum wage that is not a livable wage. That's I wouldn't leave my house for that, right? Nobody should leave their house for $7.25. That's literally, it costs $7.25 to walk out the door and breathe. I feel like at least that much. So I would never pay that. But the point is, it's supposed to be painful. You're supposed to feel something in your pocketbook because we want you to not have quality issues, right? I think we probably have to do that maybe 5 times or less a year, right? And we have thousands and thousands and thousands of appointments every single year. So we had 8,500 appointments last year, I believe, something around there. So we have to do this less than 0.0001% of the appointments. It's very unusual for it to happen, but we have high standards and we have very high quality, and we're catching things in quality checks, right? It's usually not getting to the point where a client complains and we need to send somebody back. So it's very unusual for that to happen, but it's because of this policy, it's really helped us. So, the point being is that we can put things in place that alter and shift behavior in our cleaning techs, and this is exactly why we have these policies, to protect us and to help guide them as to what they're supposed to be doing, and having this culture of excellence. That's really what it is if you ask anybody who works at Serene Clean, they would say they love the culture, but they would absolutely also say, yeah, like that, it's high expectations, high quality. But the thing is, you can't take pride in your work or your team if the work that you guys put out is shit. Right? We can't take any pride in that. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing for our people's confidence when they know we do damn good work. And when we can confidently say we're like the fucking best, right? That is not cocky. I have the data. I have literally the data to prove that we are really, really, really good. We are now, gosh, what are we at? 9 weeks, right? Knock on wood, again, of no complaints. We had an 11-week streak of no complaints earlier this year, right? And this is, again, all of these things are coming from this trifecta of this wage and raise policy that we put into place, Hannah doing much more extensive quality checks, and us revamping our training program, as I went over in my Maid Summit talk. Go watch it on ZenMaid's YouTube channel about how we train for zero complaints, right? So when I'm looking at this year, 2025, like, we have had insane levels of quality and lack of complaints. It's truly incredible, but this is why we're holding them accountable. We are explaining as clearly as possible what the expectation is, and we're really pouring into training to make sure that they understand what they need to be doing and that they feel confident, right? So it's just this really wonderful, amazing thing that we're experiencing right now, and I'm really grateful for it, because obviously, last week's episode was me bitching about all this shitty stuff that's happened, government shutdown, losing money, cleaners leaving, blah, 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 blah. Like all of these things that I'm complaining about. However, there is so many things that are going good that we're not dealing with. We are not dealing with having to send people back and doing rework. We are not dealing with angry customers because of quality. We are not dealing with losing clients because of shitty quality. Like, this is amazing to not be dealing with these problems. And it didn't happen by accident, right? This level of quality does not happen by accident. It happens by very methodical work to put things into place so that people understand what they need to be doing and that they can do it and feel freaking good. So yeah, I'm really happy to kind of be reflecting and seeing exactly where these positive changes are coming from, and to hopefully give you guys some clarity on how to do this, but then also to give you some excitement that, yeah, it doesn't always have to be shitty, right? You're not always going to be dealing with bad quality if you put these things in place, right? And we hold people accountable. We are firm, but we are fair. We are loving in our clarity, right? It's a very loving thing to be able to say, like, hey, I believe in you. I know you can do this. And that's why I'm holding you to this high standard, because I know that you can hit it, right? And if somebody doesn't want to be held accountable, then they're going to leave. They're not going to be able to handle this kind of quality. They're going to crack under it, right? They're going to crack under the pressure that it's all on me, right? And instead of being empowered by it, they crack under it, right? So they're not a good fit for this culture of excellence that we've built, right? And that's a good thing. I don't want them on the team, frankly. If they can't handle this level of expectation, we give them a lot of great things here. Like, it's a good place to work. And I really do stand by that. I feel that that is true just based on the feedback. And we're continually trying to improve the workplace with these benefits and just treating people with respect and having a great place to work. Like, I truly believe in that. And that's my biggest goal for Serene Clean, is to be the best place that they've ever worked, and also have the highest level of consistent quality for our clientele. Because without that, foundation, as I always say to you guys, without that foundation of quality, we're just going to crumble when we try to build, right? Because you can't build on shit, right? When the foundation is actually just a pile of cow manure, you can't actually build a giant castle on that, right? So we need to have a solid foundation of cement blocks, which is quality. Why do I always use metaphors? I am such a metaphorical person. I realize that recording the podcast, I'm like, I use metaphors like all the time. What's your guys' favorite metaphor that I've done? Let me know in the comments. But other than that, guys, I just really wanted to reflect on this, and I'm really proud of it. And there's many things going wonderfully at Serene Clean. And I think it's important to take a moment and really think about the things that are going right for you, right? There's always going to be problems in your business. There's always going to be issues. You're always going to have an issue with the cleaner or multiple cleaners, or it feels like everything's burning down, but there is always a silver lining. There's got to be something good going on right now. And I want you to focus on it. And if something's going wrong, there's things you can do to fix it, right? There's always a way. There's always something that we can do to fix it. And a lot of times it means like looking within and like saying, am I being clear enough? Like, am I communicating effectively? Am I being direct? Am I not being a coward and avoiding hard conversations because I'm uncomfortable and I don't like confrontation potentially, right? Like there's so many things that we can do as the leaders of our business in order to perform better and hold people accountable and make them rise to the occasion, right? We want to say, I believe in you and I know you can do this, and they're going to rise to it. Or if they can't rise to it, they're going to leave. And we kind of want that. We want that filtering process. We want them to stand out like a sore thumb if they can't handle that expectation. And it's not an unreasonable expectation because clearly people can hit it. Lots of people can hit it. A lot of times it's just a choice on their part of if they want to hit it, right? So anywho, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I'll check out these nails. Are these not sick? Gorgeous, right? Leave me just a little red heart down below because I got these red nails. And hit that like, hit that subscribe, guys. I would love to see you in the Zen Made Mastermind on Facebook. Go on over there and join and we can chat there. And I will see you on the next episode of Filthy Rich Cleaners. Bye, guys.